Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Vedur, which is brought to you by Gamia Games. It's for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and games generally run about 20 to 80 minutes. And Vedur is the third game in the Nordic Herritage collection. The king's High-seer has passed away after a long and faithful service. Now the king is uncertain of the future and its many challenges. The position of a new High-seer needs to be filled as soon as possible. The word is put forth to the villages that the search for a successor has begun. Now it is up to the village seers to show their might. A challenge has been issued. The seers need to create the most accurate weather prophecies in the upcoming weeks in order to be called to service the king, yielding the highest honor to their village. Vedur is an action selection deck building game. There are two versions of the game. You have the basic game and the advanced game. In Vedur, you will take on the role of one of the 4 village seers, each having their own way to foresee and accumulate their visions of the future in order to reveal their weather prophecies. You will visit the village townsfolk to search for omens that they can then use to predict the weather in the most powerful and reliable way through ancient omen lore, rituals, and spirit talking. You can even open up a portal to preferred spirit realms, seeking aid directly from the elemental spirits. When the king is content, he will call upon the most accurate seer, the player with the most points, to the court to become the new High-seer. So, may the most resourceful seer prevail. So yes, this is the third game in this series, and the box itself actually turns into part of the game board. Now, the neat thing here, though, is that, again, you have the basic game for maybe younger players, and then you have the more advanced game, which gives you a lot more options. And really, that's the main thing we're going to be covering. But for the basic game, you're going to use the other side of your player boards, which simplifies the actions available to you. And your player cards will just have your character. On the other side, though, is you're going to have spirit actions, which will be used for the more advanced game, giving you way more options and so forth. And you have your own starting deck as a player as well, because it is a deck builder. You're going to be acquiring more cards and building up your deck, going to discard, shuffling, and getting stuff back and forth as you invoke all these different types of actions. You have your own set of cubes, colored cubes, that you'll use to put onto the weather boards. Now, these weather boards, you'll see there are weather tiles, and depending on player count would determine how many of these boards are going to be in play. But you'll have various tiles that you'll see here that you'll have to finish and complete in order to get points. Now, everybody who contributes to these specific weather tiles is going to get points, but there are bonus dice that give you even more points if you're the last player to finish that specific tile. So it does, give you the sense of you might need to wait to play your cards until you could actually finish off maybe 1 or 2 tiles at a time. So getting those bonus points and give you even more options as you move through the course of the game. And the thing here about the advanced game is that you're using your victory points in order to buy better cards. So in the basic game, you're not doing that, but it really adds a lot more to the game when you play that way. And also in the advanced game, you have your other side of the board that you'll be using these various actions, your main actions again, and then your spirit actions are going to be available to you as well. Now, you have 2 different types of cards. You have the weather cards, and you've got the Elixir cards. And for the advanced game, you're going to mix these 2 together to create the omens deck. And then you're going to put 4 in play that are available to purchase throughout the game. Now, the thing is that the different cards are going to do various things, obviously. So we've got the weather cards. Let's first look at those. You've got some that just do a single weather event, and it's just going to give you a point value. Potentially, you've got your own deck of cards that have that as well. And they're definitely color-coded to your character and so forth. But these new ones that you buy potentially can get you a lot of victory points. So for this one, this has a dual rain and a dual sun, and it's also dual-sided. So this card can be used as rain or sun, but it also gives you the option of having 2. So if you put it into play, like here, then you can actually tick off 2 of the suns on this tile. But again, that's a half-finished tile. Someone else could swoop in and finish it and get this bonus dice. And every time you put a new tile out, the dice will be rolled in order to get a new bonus for that new tile. And so those weather cards come in all types of flavors and different types of weather events. And you'll have some singles, you'll have some doubles, you have double-sided, like I said, and you'll have some really interesting options as you play and try to time out your plays to finish off these tiles. And that's really the basics of what you're doing in this game, is that you're playing cards on weather tiles, putting your cube in the appropriate slots, and then when those tiles are finished, you calculate points and you move up the point track again in the advanced game, spending those points in order to get more cards down the road. So that's really the basics of what you're doing, but your actions allow you to do various things. Your main actions will allow you to go and get extra cards, put cards in your discard pile for later use. You actually have spirit actions that will allow you to pull cards from your discard and put them in your hand immediately. So it is that sense of a deck builder though. As you acquire new cards, you'll put them in discard and eventually you'll be shuffling them all back together and gaining those cards in hand. But all the different actions are going to really help you out through the course, and it will show you the different types of actions. And those three main actions are really about playing cards out to the different tiles, acquiring cards, and then playing and acquiring cards. And that's really the basics of what you're doing with the main actions. And what's important to note with your main actions, or any of the actions really, is the fact that when you play or choose one of those actions, you'll be placing your tile on it. That means it won't be available to you in the next round, so you have to pick one of the other two actions. So you don't have this ability to just repeat the same action over and over. And all the cards that are available to you are known as the source. They're placed out here ready for you to purchase. It's really not that expensive, but you are giving up victory points. The furthest card to the right is worth 0 victory points, so you can just take that one if you're in a mode to pull cards. And also, the next two cards are only 1 point each, but then finally this fourth card is going to be 2 points. You got to spend 2 in order to get it. But as you take cards from the source, they start to move down and new cards rotate in, obviously. And eventually that really expensive card might be 0 for some other player. And there's a couple destinations for cards. As you'd expect, you have your discard pile that you're going to be going to frequently, and there's also a trash pile that you'll be able to basically thin out your deck using some of your spirit actions. So these spirit actions are pretty unique because 2 of them are specific to your character, giving some asymmetric abilities to all the different players and so forth. But the rest are going to be universal to everyone. So for the Runecaster, which I really like, he has the ability to get 3 victory points just as a spirit action, or grab the 0 level card in the source. So those are specific to just this character, but the others are going to do things like allow you to use the weather icon. Every character has a specific weather icon, and these spirit actions allow you to invoke it by placing a cube on a particular tile. Now, you might save this obviously to finish off a tile on cards that you played earlier in the round. And then what's interesting as well is that you don't have to play main actions before spirit. You can play spirit, then main actions. It's really up to you how you mix and match those. But other things here are going to allow you to move cards to the trash and get 2 new cards. And the one I like the most that I use quite frequently is going to my discard pile to get cards that are available to play in this particular round. So lots of different options here for these spirit actions, and they really do play in and how you strategically use them and bounce them back and forth between your main actions. There are 2 different flavors of these Elixir cards. You've got ones with the infinity symbol that are going to be ongoing bonuses basically, and you've got one-time use cards. The one-time use cards are going to do things like allow you to copy another player's special unique spirit ability, or you might be drawing cards from your deck or playing cards, or every new card that you acquire in this round you're going to be able to put in your hand. So lots of interesting uses for these elixirs for sure, but those ongoing bonuses are going to give you potentially more points, or they might do things like increasing your hand size. Your basic hand size is 5, it'll increase it to 6. So when you draw back up, you can always have 6 cards in hand if that is in play. You also have the ability to take these double weather cards and use them as single weather cards, so you aren't restrained by the use of them and where you might place them on the different boards and so forth. So, you know, if you can really use the double, it's definitely helpful because you can finish off cards quickly that way. But the thing is that these elixirs really do aid you and give you that extra abilities as you flush out your character, so to say, and give them unique special talents. So let's go back to these weather tiles. The main thing you're doing here is playing cards to finish these again. So you have to play a card that matches an available slot on that weather tile. So you'll play the card and put your cube in the slot. And then once a tile is complete, you calculate points. Now everyone who contributed is going to get points based on the cards that were played. But the final player to finish that tile is going to get the bonuses. So you could potentially get 3 or 4 extra points, but the shield icon for every card that you played that is a shield, you will get 2 extra points. But if you play the other icon, a little swirly, you will get 2 extra points for that, for the cards you played there. So it is potentially how you play cards and how you put them into the different weather options here will really dictate how many points you're going to get. And you really hope that you are the player that strategically placed your card at the last minute in order to finish a tile and get those bonuses. And of course, the player who has the most points will be the winner. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview. Everything you've seen has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, I really like the fact that they've got both the basic and more advanced game. Obviously, I enjoyed the advanced game more, but the basic one is great for new players or kids to get them involved in the game and get their feet wet, so to say, before you take them to this next level. And I love the lore behind the game and how you have to trade off victory points in order to get cards. And it is that deck builder. You have to build them up and how you strategically use your actions to finish off these weather tiles. Really interesting aspects. It's a very unique game for sure. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it from me. And until next time, we'll see you at the table.